Should we always believe the things we think we're seeing? Do the authorities always tell us the truth? These are big questions, and we don't have all the answers to them. What we do know is that we sometimes see things we can't explain, and when we go looking for answers, nobody can give them to us. This is a video full of mysteries, anomalies, and weird incidents that remain either ignored or unexplained by science. If a genuine portal to hell exists somewhere on Earth, where would you expect to find it? Probably not in a well-to-do neighborhood in Ohio, USA. But that's where many ghost hunters and believers in the paranormal believe it to be. The portal to hell is said to be beneath a storm drain in blue ash. The story of the foreboding area, which is surrounded by satanic graffiti, can be traced back several decades. It's known that a local group of devil worshippers met inside the cavern, which has been nicknamed Satan's Hollow during the 1970s and 1980s. Some local residents even claim that they built an altar down there in the dark. The darkest story associated with Satan's Hollow is that during a meeting of the aforementioned Satanist group in the 1980s, they successfully managed to open a portal to hell and conjure the devil. That was too much even for them, and they fled in terror. Countless ghost hunters and supernatural enthusiasts have visited the Hollow since then and felt inexplicable sensations of terror. Is there a rational explanation for all this? The people of Norway thought they were being visited by aliens in December 2009 when a massive spiral of lights appeared in the sky. As if that weren't strange enough, there was also a bright blue streak of light coming from the center of the spirals and seeming to end in an orange flash somewhere close to the ground. Nobody had seen anything like this before, and scientists were initially at a loss to explain it. Even when an explanation did arrive, plenty of people suspect that it might be a cover story. Russia eventually took the blame for the incident, saying that it was caused by the failed testing of a Bulava ballistic missile. The missile caused the white spirals as it span out of control, and then the blue trail was created as it accelerated back toward the ground at high speed. Nobody's disputing that failed missile tests sometimes happen, but we live in an age where almost everyone has a device with a camera on their person at all times. Why have we never seen a missile do anything like this before? Was it a unique set of circumstances, or is the missile story a lie? Mercury is one of Earth's near neighbors in relative terms, but we're yet to attempt a manned mission to the tiny planet. That's because Mercury is ever so slightly hot because of its proximity to the Sun. During the day, the planet's surface boils at a temperature of around 800 degrees Fahrenheit. No human being could survive in such conditions, but these pictures suggest that something non-human could be living there instead. Using pictures of Mercury taken by NASA, alien hunters claim to have identified an enormous tower with an artificial light source. Some of the alien hunters even claim there's a statue next to the tower. If what we can see in these pictures really is a tower, it must be enormous. It would have to be more than 10 kilometers tall. Gravity on Mercury is barely over a third as strong as gravity on Earth, but even taking that into account, a tower of such proportions ought to be too heavy for the ground it stands upon. Maybe aliens have developed sophisticated structural engineering techniques that we can't even imagine. Or maybe this isn't an alien tower at all. NASA's Curiosity rover has been on the surface of Mars since 2012, and it's taken some remarkable photos in that time. Until the Perseverance rover landed on the planet in 2020, Curiosity had provided us with the most detailed pictures of the Martian surface we'd ever seen. There are anomalies on some of those photos, though, and the anomalies can often be hard to explain. Here's one of the most famous of those anomalies: It's called the Mars rat, and it's not hard to see why. This looks for all the world like a furry rodent hiding between red rocks on September 28, 2012. The alleged rat has visible fur, is lighter than the rocks around it, and seems to have clearly defined eyes, eyelids, cheeks, and legs. To skeptics, though, this is one of a countless number of examples of pareidolia, which is the human tendency to see familiar objects where no such objects exist. It's the same phenomenon that sometimes allows people to see shapes in the clouds, or the face of Jesus on a piece of toast. Having said that, it would be funny if we'd spent all this time searching for life on Mars only to find out that it's full of common rats. It can't be easy working for whichever department inside NASA is responsible for uploading pictures and video content to the internet. No matter what you do or how transparent you are, you'll find yourself constantly accused of editing things or leaving things out. Conspiracy theorists often claim that Google Moon, which uses NASA's images to create a map of the lunar surface, is heavily edited. In July 2019, though, the alien hunters convinced themselves that they'd found something NASA had forgotten to blur out. They say that these pictures show an alien city on the moon. Scott Waring, who is one of the internet's most notorious UFO enthusiasts, claims to have found a 9-mile-long series of structures hidden inside the De Moraes crater. By zooming in very close to the alleged structures, he says he can see right angles, which implies that the structures must have artificial origins. Going further, he points out that the structures vanish when Google's more recently added filters are applied, after which an allegedly fake crater appears in their place. Did NASA or Google forget to edit out this moon base in their oldest pictures? Or is this all just a matter of light and shading? While we're talking about alleged NASA cover-ups, here's one of the most controversial of the past few years. In July 2020, NASA found itself accused of trying to cover up the presence of a cube-shaped alien spaceship flying close to the Sun. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're probably a little wary of cube-shaped spaceships already. There's no such thing as the Borg, though, so what can we really see in these pictures? Well, according to Scott Waring, who's involved yet again here, the cube can be seen on numerous NASA photos in summer 2020, appearing and repeatedly disappearing from day to day. Opinion among Scott's followers is split over whether the cube itself is the object, or the cube is actually a section of the photo that NASA has blanked out to prevent us from seeing what's really there. If the first theory is true and the cube is real, it's an object nearly 10 times larger than the Earth. It wouldn't be so much an alien spacecraft as it would a flying alien planet. Skeptics say that the black squares are nothing more than pixelation, but it's odd that it happens so often. We've already discussed the concept of pareidolia. We can pin the fact that so many people see a clearly defined human head when they look at these pictures of a deep space nebula on pareidolia. That doesn't make it any less impressive. This is the Cygnus Loop Nebula, as seen by NASA's Galaxy Evolution Explorer in March 2012. The bright blue cloud of dust and gas is a little over 1,500 light-years from Earth. It looks so much like a human head seen in side profile that we can clearly identify the eye, jawline, neck, and even the head's apparently receding hairline. In reality, these are just the wispy remnants of an explosion that happened about 8,000 years ago when a star went supernova. It would have been such a huge, bright explosion that it would have been visible from Earth with the naked eye, so our ancient ancestors would have seen it. The human head optical illusion will disintegrate over the next few centuries as the gas continues to move through space, but right now, the resemblance is still strong. You don't have to gaze into deep space to see faces staring back at you. You can even find one in Antarctica if you know where to look. Here it is on a lonely, remote coastline in the continent's most southeasterly reaches. The face seems to be grimacing, and to some observers, doesn't appear to be quite human. With its strange nose and small, narrow mouth, many alien hunters believe this is an enormous carving of an alien visitor. It's a common belief among conspiracy theorists that there are alien bases in Antarctica. The discovery of this strange anomaly will only serve to strengthen those claims. There's also a less outlandish theory about the face. We know that Antarctica was a green and verdant continent many thousands of years ago, and so it's possible that humans lived on it. The remains of an ancient human civilization might still be present in Antarctica, hidden beneath the ice. This could be one such monument. On the other hand, it could just be a set of hills, valleys, and cracks in the ice that look like a face when viewed directly from above. The Spiders from Mars were a rock band that played with David Bowie during the 1970s. After that came to an end, they appear to have relocated to Mars. We say this because there's something going on at Mars's South Pole, and some people think it might be an enormous colony of Martian spiders. These spider-like marks were first observed by NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter several years ago, but they've grown in number every year and are continuing to grow. They might be cracks in the ice, fissures in the ground, or maybe, just maybe, massive spider colonies. Martian spiders would be kind of cool, but the truth is that this is probably a byproduct of the way the ice caps at the South Pole thaw. They start to melt from the bottom up, which releases carbon dioxide into the ice. The carbon dioxide then builds up and carves its way to the surface, leaving deep channels behind in its wake. We're satisfied with that scientific answer, but we're still no clearer on why the problem appears to be getting worse. Surely the same thing should happen every year. We've seen a face on Antarctica. We've seen a face in deep space. Now, here's a face on Mars. Unlike the other two faces, it's hard to write this one off as being a product of our imagination. It has eyes, a dot for a nose, and a long, curved, smiling face like an emoji. The precise location of the face hasn't been given, but it's thought to be one of many strange markings in the Gala crater. That part of Mars has been more well documented than any other, and is even nicknamed the Happy Face crater because there are so many marks inside it that look like smiling faces. It might look for all the world like someone's drawn this on the surface of the red planet in an attempt to communicate with us, but common sense tells us that isn't possible. The face is miles wide, and so it would have taken years to make. Given that we have multiple telescopes and pieces of space tech monitoring Mars, we'd surely have noticed a construction project of that size. We've spent a lot of time on Mars in this video, so we might as well stay there a little longer. In 2016, a claim about intelligent life on Mars was made that makes all the other claims in this video seem positively plausible. According to the self-proclaimed UFO expert group that calls itself Secure Team 10, this photo, obtained from NASA's cameras, shows Morse code written across the planet's surface. The alleged message, written in dots and dashes, is in the Hagel Dune field not far from the Martian North Pole. There's no denying that the shapes are eye-catching and seem artificial. If this is a message, though, it was written by someone who can't spell. People who understand Morse code have tried their hand at translating these messages, and they've come up with nothing that makes sense. The text comes out as gibberish. That hasn't put the UFO experts off, though. They point out that English wouldn't be the first language of Martians, and the code might be written in their own language. Putting that aside for one moment, NASA has no idea how these shapes were made. Now that's a mystery that someone really should be looking into. Perhaps while NASA's looking into those strange shapes, it could also take another look at this unexplained massive hole in the planet. You can see it here in these images, which have been enhanced to account for the lack of light when they were taken. It might just be a product of the enhancement project, but it looks like the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has detected the presence of ice at the bottom of the hole. The white patches around the outside of the hole aren't ice though, they're carbon dioxide. The hole is several hundred feet across and possibly up to 1,000 feet deep. Even NASA has been forced to admit that it looks like a borehole, as if someone had tried to dig an enormous well here. The question is whether the hole was created when something beneath it collapsed, or whether it was created when something hit the ground and punched straight through it. NASA doesn't currently have enough information to answer that question. It's clear from this video that there's far too much we don't know about Mars. It's high time that we sent someone there to find out. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching and see you soon!